Welcome to another edition of Totally Awesome Fishing Films, where I'm going to take you to the Florida Keys in the pursuit of one of the greatest shallow water fighting predators you can ever get. It's the fearsome, the toothy, the fanged barracuda. It sort of strikes fear into the heart of, well, every other fish really, because they eat every other fish and have been known to nip the occasional swimmer as well. A great sporting fish. I love catching barracuda. They're like pike, they're like, full-on predators. They launch themselves like missiles. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And there's some tips there. If you're going on vacation, almost anywhere around the world in tropical waters, you've got a chance of going barracuda fishing. I suggest you do it. A great fish to catch. Let's get on with it. Let's get cracking. I think I might need a bit of sun oil for this one. Palm trees, white sand beaches, sunshine and beautiful clear ocean. Most people that go to Florida generally stay up in the Orlando or Miami area, and of course it really is a great holiday destination. But if you point that car due south, you reach the fabulous Florida Keys, and these literally are a series of tropical islands linked by bridges. The ocean is all around you.
Now, barracuda aren't particularly difficult to catch. Like all species, you just got to locate them. Here in the Florida Keys at Isla Mirada, there's several spots you can get them because there's a huge, massive area in the Gulf of Mexico that's very shallow, and that's excellent feeding ground and breeding ground for the barracudas. And then out on the other side of the Keys, out to the east, you've got steeper water, steeper drop-off there. About 3 miles out, you've got the drop-off, and that would be about 10 feet deep, and then it runs out to about 20 feet deep, and then progressively down to the continental shelf. Now with the barracuda, one of the first ways I like to try and catch one and get a strike out of one is with a tube lure. That's one of these guys. That's about a 10-inch long piece of plastic surgical tubing. Now they come a lot thicker than this, as shop bought ones. Some of them come with just a big single hook or a really big treble. These ones I make up I have tremendous success with. They're made out of the lanyards that go on these sunglasses. You can get them in different colours. Cut them in half. It's very, very thin. A small egg sinker there, right up the front for the nose. A number 10 barrel swivel, which is about 40-pound test barrel swivel, and a couple of treble hooks. I put 2 here. I've got number 5 wire, stainless steel wire, running down the centre there. So obviously if they do hit it in the middle, if you have it on nylon, they're going to cut through it. Rig wire right through to that treble. Now these are quadruple strength eagle claw trebles. Very, very strong trebles because a barracuda can crush those without any difficulty at all. And what you're going to be doing, there's 2 ways to fish these. You can cast them out, and as soon as they hit the surface, shut the bail arm manually, keep the rod high up like this, and then crank fast, skipping it across the top. Now nobody really knows why these tube lures actually do catch barracudas, but I think most of the guides around here, especially down in the Keys and in the Bahamas as well, think they imitate a fleeing ballyhoo or needlefish jumping across the top of the surface. However, one of the guys here tipped me off, said you don't always have to fish them fast. You get a lot more strikes, especially in the middle of the tube lure, when you fish them in little slow tweaks. Now the barracuda can obviously see everything then, and this piece of tubing looks nothing like a fish to me, but by golly does it work. We're going to go and show you some fish now, just to prove it. They'll also take live bait. To get those, you've obviously got to get a boat, so we'll talk about the boat later. But basically the wind out here is dropped down to about 10 knots. It's gone round to the southeast. So I've come to a small mark over some grassy area where you get a fish called a pinfish, which is a small live bait. And they are very, very good for barracuda, tarpon, and you catch them on light tackle. That's what they look like. They're almost like a small black bream to us. Now they're called a pinfish for a reason. There, plenty of pins on the dorsal, and they've also got spikes just under here, bonus spikes everywhere. So they're an excellent bait. We catch them on pieces of squid, and as another bait you can catch, which I prepared earlier, you can get these on very small pieces, is ballyhoo. Now that is a barracuda's staple diet. That's why those tube lures work, because that's what they imitate, long thin fish, and that's called ballyhoo. It's got a beak at the bottom, so you can see the beak at the bottom, and we're using strips of squid to catch them. but very, very small hooks. These are about a size 10 or size 12, long shank blued, very sharp. Now these don't keep very well in a live well, whereas the pinfish do. You have to change the water every now and then. So we're going to rig those two up. Use those now. On the tackle side, I wouldn't drop much below about 12-pound test line, because Barracuda, although the world record's up to about 70 pounds, average fish I would guess would be 5 to 8 pounds out here. Chance of a double figure one's pretty good. We're going to try and get the boat out to a mark about 3.5–4 miles from here, called Alligator Light, which is a light that marks the edge of the reef where it drops off. It's a beautiful white sandy area, and we might even get underwater footage to show you why the bait fish around the structure on the stanchions or the legs. Same principle again, like the tube lure. Got the swivel there, which is a number 10 Barclay swivel, 40-pound test, the same wire, number 4 or number 5 wire. It's very, very fine. If you go too heavy, you won't get the takes from the Barracuda here. And the same treble. That one there, which is quadruple strength eagle claw treble. It's 4 times as strong. They can't crush it, and it's very, very small, as you can see. What you do with these ballyhoo, you can either hook them across the back of the head, or with a pinfish, you don't hook them through both lips. You hook them just through the top of the nasal flap. Let me just show you. If you hook them through the top of the lip and troll them from here, just through the top of the lip, it doesn't work so well. They die. Now just here across the top of the nasal flap, there's just a little slot. You can go pop, and it just hangs in there, the hook. And you're just trolling the fish live like this, very, very slowly behind the boat. The Barracuda will take it, turn it. You give them about 10 seconds, leave the bail arm open, 10 seconds, shut the bail arm, and set the hook. Well, we've got about 30 baits in the live well down the back here. Keep changing the water, because it's going to take us about 20–25 minutes to run out there. Stop, 10 minutes, refill the water, drain it out, put fresh water in, unless you can get a pump. Let's get out there and see what we can do. It took about 5 minutes to get the first take, not even that, on a live pinfish. Just drifted by the lighthouse. 4 or 5 Barracuda came after the bait. I'm going to use this handkerchief, and you stop it on the swivel so you don't cut your hands on the wire when they kick. Like that. Not a big fish, and he's hooked just there in the tip. You can see the teeth there, pretty impressive. And they all lock together, they're all interlocking. So I hold them very, very tight. I'm just going to use this for quickness, but I like to use long nose pliers. So basically all you do is you just hook it on through the nasal flaps like that. You put the boat in slow gear and just cast it behind the boat like that. About 20 feet, put the boat in gear. Very, very slowly. You want to be going about a knot just underway. I think I've got eaten already. Leave the bail arm open like that. He's got eaten already. Give him about another 5 seconds. They either drop it, check the drag before you hit him. Hit him. He's on. Well, that wasn't bad for the camera, was it? If he stays on, looks like he might. Oh, he's dropped the bait. Now let's just bring him in and show you if there's any teeth marks on it. That's what those teeth do. Just almost severed the fish completely in half. Now if you were at anchor, and there's the fish, I can see him swimming, I'm going to throw this out. If you were at anchor and you threw these dead baits on the bottom, they would still pick them up, but you've got to remember to leave the bail arm closed, don't leave it open, undo the drag so it's loose, just like this. Now there's 2 Barracuda around that bait as it's sinking on the bottom. If it was live, they'd have it like that. But they're curious just because they're not sure whether it's got that wire in it. When the wire and the hook lay on the sand on the bottom, they can't see it. And they'll come along and they'll suck it up. So even if you do get dead baits or leftover pieces of bait like that, don't be afraid to stop the boat, switch the engine off, put the anchor down, put a chum bag over for some smell in the water, and just let it drag there or let it sit in the tide. They will pick it up. I'm just going to give this a little while. Occasionally you can get a twitch or two and they'll take it. And then obviously when you do get a screaming take like that, pick the rod up, just screw the drag down, point at the fish and whack it 2 or 3 times. Now I'm going to bring this in. I can see the fish have drifted off back towards the lighthouse stanchions. So I'll bring it in and we'll put another live one on. Switch off.
The action you can get on even a light spinning rod is first class, but don't make the mistake of dropping your line strength, as a big double figure Barracuda can easily break a light line. You want at least 12 pound test, 15 pound is better, and go for clear lines rather than coloured. And make sure your reel's drag is also set correctly. Watch out even when they're close to the boat. A sudden thrash and those teeth will do the damage they were designed for.
The other thing I like using are these Baker hook-out tools, which, as you can see, got jaws on the end, and it's much safer for getting hold of fish like Barracuda. Keeps your fingers out of the way. You can just get a hold of the shank or the bend of the hook. It's out like that. Fish doesn't hurt, and away it goes back in the water. We put 5 baits out. Every single one's got eaten. This is the third good hookup we got, and there's Barracuda all around this fish. So we got 3 by slow trolling, which is about the best method I find. Plus, if I'm brave enough, we're going to try and go in with the underwater camera, which I've never done, and just see what it looks like down there, and see what other bait fish there are that keep these Barracuda so packed up tightly. Incidentally, the best day's slow trolling with live baits I've had here has been 55 fish hooked, and we landed 32 to about 18 pounds. So we're going to see what we can do on the anchor, and what it looks like under the water, I don't know.
Barracuda are visual feeders with what is known as binocular vision. That means both eyes are pointing forward, just like a gun sight. They can launch an attack at blistering speed, and if they miss that bait fish, their momentum can actually carry them right out of the water. I've seen it with my own eyes, witnessing big Barracuda missiling out 15 feet into the air, and there have even been accounts of them leaping right into the boat, often with catastrophic consequences. One look at that jaw full of teeth, and you should have only one thing on your mind: respect. Some people eat Barracuda, but this species' diet of reef fish can actually cause a blindness called ciguatera poisoning. It's actually caused by a build-up of natural toxins. Me, I'd soon have a nice wahoo steak and put the cudas back alive. There are plenty more species in the sea that make far better eating. Barracuda are primarily a daytime feeder. They will hit a live bait at dusk, but once it gets dark, they tend to go off the feed. My theory is they themselves are a favourite food of sharks, big bulls, tigers and hammerheads, and these toothy critters are definitely out on the prowl during the hours of darkness. If I were a cuda, I'd keep my head down as well. The tiny baitfish are attracted to the supports and old steelwork of the lighthouse for sanctuary. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Well, okay, it's a fish-eat-fish world, really. This predator has no fear. It will often attack fish far larger than itself, even up to a juicy 15 or 20 pound tuna, which they will happily cut straight in half. It doesn't take a big Barracuda to do a lot of damage. I once had a 7 pounder bump my finger while I tried to hold it for unhooking, and that tooth opened my flesh to the bone. Of course, the only first aid was some duct tape on the boat, so that held it all together so I could finish the day's fishing. Listen, when the cudas are on the bite, all you have to worry about is whether you got enough bait.
We came out to a different lighthouse this time. This one's Tennessee. Looks a bit worse for wear there, but there's a lot of big Barracuda here, and first cast with a mini tube lure that I made up that I was talking about earlier on. First cast, this one grabbed it. It's not a real big Barracuda, and it came off. Can you believe it? but that took first cast. As we came up we saw 10 or 12 big ones up to about 15, 18, maybe 20 pounds. So we're going to go around, do some casting, and I'll show you how to fish them. You can either cast them out like this and race them back across the surface. That gets them pretty angry. Or the better way I was told is to fish them in slow jerks. Let it sink, it's just got like a 1/4 ounce egg sinker, just fish it in jerks like this. And you'll see the fish come up and grab it behind. Normally with the Barracuda you get a take within the first 2 or 3 throws, and then that's it, they get wised up to it. Fourth cast, right up there, there's about a pack of 10, and we're hooked up again. And these fish really go. I've got 15-pound line here, because the biggest fish I've seen out by Tennessee, a conservative estimate I've put to be at least 50 pounds or more. But I've tried several times to catch him. Oh, don't say he's wrapped me up in something. Another one's going to get lost. I think he's got me in the coral.
I can see him.
No, that's not him. That's a pack of other barracudas. Look over the back. There's absolutely hundreds of them. And this guy's snagged me in the bottom. He's come out the snag. When we look down through the water, there must be 50 to 60 double figure to 20-pound barracuda here. So I'm hoping at least we get one up to show you that we do actually catch them on these special tube lures. There he is, a good fish. What a cracker is a double figure barracuda. And the reason I extended the tube, he sucked the entire tube back down. And I've got an extension of the wire there, thank God. I've lost so many big barracudas. They take it right back. We don't want to mess around with it too much. That's a big barracuda. He's even got barnacles on his head, he's that big. I go about 15-pounder, and the tube lure is just down the hatch. Absolutely gone down there. I'm not even sure we're going to get it out. And you see their eyes, both centered forward, designed for a burst of power. Those teeth, incidentally, interlock. The front ones, these along the edge, the small ones here, are used for cutting, and these are used for tearing. Let's get this one back in the water. Anything I want him tearing is my fingers. Yes. Don't all lean over the boat. Just give him a while to recover. These barracudas don't fare too well out of the water. His gills are pumping, he's got a bit of air there. See the bubbles coming out. Just stroke their belly. Push the air bubbles towards the front of their jaws. And when you feel it's a bit of strength, just push him away. Off he goes. And that's catching them on tube lures. We tried with the tube lure for a little while, they kept following it in. And then I tried live pinfish on a small rod, a little TLD5. Nothing, we lost those in the bottom, so I thought I'd suspend a pinfish about 5 foot deep below one of these polystyrene tarpon floats. And that's done the trick. We've got another fish hooked up here. Not quite so big, but it just shows if you change the tactics, you can still pick up the extra fish. There's the float there. Just a polystyrene sliding float. They use it for tarpon. It just suspends a live bait, stops it going into the reef. Yes, another one. You have to watch the single strand wire here and hold them behind the head, edge of the gills. You can see it's just hooked in the scissors there. You get the baker hook out to grip it, pop it out, hook's gone, fish is all ready. There's only about another 48 fish left there.
Well, what did you think about that action on those toothy critters of barracuda? That's Totally Awesome Fishing film years ago. That's a vintage section. Imagine what we can do with the new films. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to get back here on the edit suite, see what else I can dig out of the old archives. So watch out. Totally awesome fishing films, the vintage collection. There's another action-packed one coming. What's it going to be? I'm not telling you. You're going to have to wait.